Welcome to the Holistic Growth Podcast, navigating business and natural health and functional medicine, where we bring you insights and strategies to help grow your practice and amplify your impact. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Holistic Business Podcast. I'm Dr. Tracy, the Chief Health and Growth Officer right here at GetHealthy Store. And we are so excited to be having an incredible conversation about the evolution of functional health and how one man went from in-clinic practice to functional influencer, and then I would say tech developer, because he has an incredible software now that we have integrated into the GetHealthy stores called Vitaboom. Dr. Darshan Shah, he is incredible in functional health. So welcome today to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Tracy. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you give us a little bit of background? Who are you? What do you do? And how did you get to this current place?
Sure. So I've been a physician now for 30 years. I started my career as a surgeon. I did every kind of surgery you can imagine. I went from general to trauma to reconstructive to plastics. And after about 25 years in that business, 20 years in that business, I got burnt out. And I was like looking for my next thing. And at the same time, I said to myself, after looking in the mirror and getting some blood work back, that I'm extremely unhealthy and I need to change not just my career, but also my health, right? And so I searched for ways to get myself healthy. And, Western medicine doesn't really have any way to get you healthy. It can definitely help you cover up the symptoms of diseases or help you either to get hit by a bus or have a heart attack. But trying to get healthy in Western medicine, we definitely did not have the tools. I was not taught that in medical school. None of my primary care physicians even knew what I was talking about. They're like, what do you mean? Just take this medication. And I thought for sure there had to be a better way. So I educated myself in nutrition, exercise, sleep. And about 12 years ago, I happened into functional medicine. And that's when functional medicine, holistic medicine was really trying to become more mainstream in the I would say the MD-DO world in Western medicine. And there's a lot of butting of heads between the two, right? But I decided to take a course and I used the principles on myself, and I got well in 8 months. And I was like, wow, I was re-inspired for medicine again. I said, this is the kind of medicine I want to practice. I'm done going to the operating room every morning at 6 a.m. for 14 hours and being stressed out and overworked. And over the next 5 years, I switched my career from surgery to functional medicine. And then it just kind of took off from there.
Wow. I didn't know you were a surgeon. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So
yes.
New fact about Dr. Shah that I've learned today.
Well, yeah, I did a lot of surgery. I did almost 50,000 cases throughout the course of my career. So it was, I'd operated a lot. Yeah.
Well, I did not know that. So that's a good fact to know. Well,
Thank you.
Course did you end up taking that brought you into the scope of functional medicine?
I took the IFM courses, Institute of Functional Medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good organization. So,
yeah.
Well, it's interesting because at the time I would say that you walked into functional medicine. Now, post-pandemic, I think it looks a lot different. People seem to be more open and actually seeking it. And I think the pendulum has swung the other way, right? Where the trusted advisors were once the allopathic, the medical model. Now people are looking for more natural, holistic, and more teacher-based, where they can kind of DIY their own health. So we're glad to have you on the side. I've always been in natural health, so that's nothing new to me. But I think the post-pandemic really brought awareness to everybody.
Yeah, the way I explain it, Tracy, is that the Western medical system, the allopathic system, was never built to create health, and it was never built to reverse chronic disease, right? It was built to treat infections. It was built to treat trauma, and now it's evolved into a place where you can go for all of these things at a very high level. But when you go there for trying to be healthy, it doesn't have the tools or even the training in that system to get you what you need. So what I tell all my patients is, look, you need both. But really the quarterback should be your holistic functional physician. And then you only use the Western model when you get into trouble, right? Then you can access your insurance, you can be admitted to the hospital, etc. However, for 98% of your life, hopefully, it's more of a holistic disease reversal and avoidance mode, right?
Right. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's the model everyone's kind of moving to. And I guess I'm not as crazy as everybody thought. So that's always
Yeah.
interesting too. But
Right.
you're still practicing. You have Next Health. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what you're doing now? I know you went from surgery and, 50,000 cases. What are you seeing today in your practice? What's your specialty?
Yeah, so I started Next Health 10 years ago, and it was just me sitting in the clinic and seeing all sorts of people that had multiple um, medical issues, and they weren't getting what I needed from the Western medical system. They weren't getting it either, and so I was able to provide them with gut health information and treatment modalities, hormone replacement therapy. I was able to talk to them on nutrition, exercise, sleep, all of those things that we talk about, right? And I became extremely busy. I started one clinic in West Hollywood, and this is when no one knew what I was doing. Everyone was like, "Wait, what is this clinic here? Next Health? What do you guys do?" But we got super busy, and then I opened a second and a third, and now we have 10 clinics all over the country and one in Dubai. And I've actually slowed down on seeing patients because now I'm training the doctors, our mid levels, and everyone else that works with us to administer this type of model. And I do see a few patients. I have like 10 patients, but otherwise, otherwise, I'm mainly training our providers and just participating in the growth of Nextel.
And where do you see the gaps with providers? What are they lacking? Because I would assume these are medical practitioners as well as other types of healthcare providers. But what's the biggest gap when someone comes out of the medical allopathic model and wants to work within your facility?
Yeah. So I think a lot of the practitioners we have don't even start off in the allopathic model. They start off as functional doctors or functional practitioners, and they come to us. But we do have some allopathic physicians that come to us. And what I really try to emphasize to them, the biggest gap is finding the combination of the Venn diagram of these two areas. Okay. And so the way I explain it to all of our practitioners is you really are practicing four different types of medicine now. You're not just practicing functional medicine or lifestyle medicine or preventative health. You really have to look at what you're doing at Next Health as number one, practicing lifestyle medicine. That is helping people optimize their nutrition, their metabolic health, their sleep, their movement and exercise routines, and how they deal with emotional stress. Number two, you're practicing preventative medicine. This is where allopathic medicine has all the tools to diagnose and prevent disasters, but they're not used until too late. So you have to get people heads wrapped around bringing this much earlier into their life. So that means utilizing diagnostics to prevent death from cardiac disease, brain or Alzheimer's disease, or all the neurocognitive diseases, and also promoting immune system health, thereby defeating cancer. Cancer's biggest enemy is being diagnosed at stage one. We diagnose almost all cancers at stage 3 or 4, when now you're not talking cure, you're talking 5-year survival rates,
Wow.
right? Yeah. And then the third aspect is then functional medicine, which is gut health, um, hormone health, detoxification. And then lastly, the fourth type of medicine that we practice is longevity medicine. This is where people have everything else kind of going really, really well. But now we have new technologies, new things that people are talking about that can really accelerate things like mitochondrial health, decreasing inflammation, et cetera. So the gap is really in tying all of this together and not getting hyper focused on one.
Right. And I noticed when I read over your website, you had talked about influencers and biohackers that are out there, and they're giving these kind of one-off solutions. And after the pandemic, I think a lot of influencers rose to the top. But I think the difference between what you're doing, because I would consider you an influencer now, like you have hundreds of thousands of followers. I follow you, you give great information, but you're in the chair with people. You're not somebody that's up here just talking about the dangers of something and here's a few supplements. You actually have a way to take those people where you're giving this great free valuable information and putting them in a chair with somebody else to get exactly what you said, this diagnostic solution that's tangible. So I really appreciate that about you. And I appreciated your comment on your website because I was like, that's true. There's so much information out of there. How do people sift through it?
Right, right. I think the problem occurs, it's kind of like that, you mentioned the pendulum swinging. So allopathic medicine looks at massive studies, randomized controlled trials, meta-analyses, where you're pooling the data of tens of thousands of individuals, right? And you're making decisions based on that data. And really, we know that all of that data, what works is somewhere along a bell-shaped curve. So what those big studies tell you is what works for the people in the middle of the bell-shaped curve, right? But that's not necessarily what works for everybody. You have people that 1 or 2 standard deviations away from what those studies report. And now the pendulum has swung all the way to where these influencers with really zero training have a massive platform where they're applying N of one. This is what worked to me. And they're telling tens of thousands of people, and tens of thousands of people are trying it out. And then some of them is going to work for, and some of them is actually going to harm, and some of them is going to work much better than it works even in the middle of the bell-shaped curve. So we have this problem now where influencers have a huge voice, and we're doing massive experiments. And it's the opposite of the problem that we used to have, which is where we only did evidence-based medicine, we called it, where we did a treatment based on a meta-analysis or a randomized controlled trial, but it didn't really work for everybody. And the solution is really somewhere in the middle.
And that's really what you're
Yeah.
providing. So
Yep.
all the way to Vitaboom. And that's what we're going to
Yeah.
talk about here a little bit. So for the listeners, the Vitaboom pill packing technology has been implemented across the entire Get Healthy brand. So if you have a Get Healthy store, that is in your dispensary. You can use it. You can build pill packs. You can dispense pill packs. If you don't have a Get Healthy store, check out the link in the show notes and you can get a free demo to find out more. But I want to talk about why pill packing? Why did you get into this type of packaging of supplements and also the technology to be able to do it? So give me that story. How did this happen?
Yeah. It's one of those necessity is a mother of invention stories, And what happened was as we were opening Next Health Clinics, what we found was that it was really, really hard to manage supplements on multiple levels. So first of all, at our stores, we would order private label inventory, right? And you had minimum order quantities. So you would have to order 50 bottles of vitamin D3K2, 30 bottles of a multivitamin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we would have 20 SKUs that we would stock all these bottles on our shelves. Well, what happens? Well, if you don't sell them all, they go bad on your shelves, right? If you get some level of theft, not implicating anyone in particular, but employees would steal, people would steal that would come into the stores. And then people would open the bottle, look in it, say it smelled weird, and then come back and try to return a full bottle. So we, after a year of trying this, we actually saw that we were losing money every single month over month. We had not made a positive income even 1 month out of 12 months trying to do retail supplementation at a private label basis.
Wow.
So I thought, yeah. And so I was like, this is terrible. So we just stopped doing supplements completely. And then we just said, go to Amazon and buy these 5 things, And then, obviously we were leaving a lot of revenue on the table because at this point we had over 10,000 members and we were, they were all buying their supplements from various random sources, mostly Amazon. So then I saw this pill packing technology because Amazon had bought a company called in the pharmaceutical space. And I was like, well, why don't we just do that for supplements? And so I researched it. I looked in the machines. I saw there were other companies doing it, but we were kind of locked into just the pills that they had, just the supplements that they had from their brand.
This episode is brought to you by Myos MD. What if there was a natural way to reduce the muscle loss we all experience with age? Let me introduce you to Myos MD. Myos MD is a powerfully unique supplement designed to reduce muscle loss, whether it's through aging, injury, illness, or weight loss. The secret? Fortitropin, an all-natural bioactive compound developed by top scientists and researched at some of the world's finest institutions. Here's how it works. Fortitropin has been clinically shown to lower myostatin, increase muscle protein synthesis, and reduce anabolic resistance. In fact, in a double-blind, placebo-controlled study at the University of California, Berkeley, men and women aged 60 to 75 saw an impressive 18% increase in muscle protein synthesis with Fortitropin compared to a placebo. And subjects saw these results with no additional exercise. This isn't just a supplement, it's science in action, helping your patients build muscle, recover faster, and live powerfully. To learn more about the research and benefits of MyosMD, visit myosmd.com today.
The SKUs, it didn't really have the number or the breadth of the different supplements that we were prescribing. And we were prescribing supplements that were very proprietary too. Like, we were doing urolithin A and nicotinamide riboside, and we were doing acromantia, and the pill packers didn't have that. So, and then also the pill packs weren't private labeled. And so what we did then was I hired a team, we figured out how to do it ourselves, using all the brands we wanted, all the supplements we wanted, and we built out the technology so that on every single box, we could private label it to us. And then because we could do it box by box, we decided to open it up to all of the holistic practitioners out there and spin it off as a separate business.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, I looked at pill packing the same way. There was specific brands that had it and specific companies, but you were limited to their brand. And we know that practitioners don't use one brand. We may love one brand, but we use multiple brands. And so I wanted that freedom. And so when we did the first talk with your company between GetHealthy and Vitaboom, I came back to John and I said, we have to do this. This is going to be big, because it did exactly what you said. Number one, there weren't massive cost of goods sold. I mean, there's 3 areas, probably 4 areas that practitioners are terrible at: business, marketing, and inventory management. You could probably add taxes as the 4th, right?
Right.
We'll leave that off since it's tax season. Yeah. So those 3 areas is really what GetHealthy stepped into the gap and tried to help practitioners with, right? We try to give them the right marketing tools, take the technology off so they don't have any cost of goods. They can just have a digital platform, have this front end store with a virtual product catalog. So all of those things. And then along comes Vitaboom. And you guys did it as well, but you put it in a branded experience for the doctor. And I feel it increased compliancy. I don't know if that's been your experience, but I have scripted and I have my own private label box. By the way, your team was so easy to work with when it came with sending. Basically, your form was like, send me your hex colors and your logo, but if you don't have one, we'll just steal it from your website. And if you don't do that, then we'll just make one for you. Like, they basically were like, whatever you need, we'll do it. So I literally could have sent nothing and probably had a great box, but I did have a logo. And Deb over at your facility, she designed a beautiful box. I did joke the first time around, she had my picture on it. And I was like, Deb, I'm from Gen X. I feel like I'm missing on a milk carton. So have you seen this girl? So, but the experience was so easy. And so I really like it. So what made you come up with the concept of multi-brands, and how did you establish which brands you wanted first? Were those the products that you were using, or what did that look like for you?
Exactly. I mean, look, I did not want to be locked into one brand. And I was at this point working with probably about 10 different practitioners when we started, and everyone had their favorite brands. And I realized that we had to have access to all the brands. Otherwise, they wouldn't be inspired to really prescribe supplements. And, you said increasing compliance. One of the best ways to really increase compliance with your patients is to talk to them about the brands and why you pick these brands and what are the positives of picking practitioner focused brands as well, right? And so I did that because of just that. I wanted to have my brands, and my practitioners wanted their brands, and so that's why we moved forward with that model. And then the first brands were the ones that I were using, but then as more practitioners came on board, we started bringing more and more brands on board.
And you even bring some products that are more private labeled by the practitioners, which I think is really unique, because now, as you were saying, you had all these private label products just sitting out on your counter. You weren't selling through all the bottles. but you can make offerings with the Vitaboom packaging with your private label products in it. So I think that's very unique. And I don't, are you
Yeah.
doing private label anymore? Or are you just strictly doing your Vitaboom private label?
So, the box coming to the patient every month with my logo on it and in our colors, that's private label enough for me. Like they see my branding, they know these are my choices for them. And then what I like is it kind of accomplishes the best of both worlds. It's private label for my practice, so they feel like they have this beautiful kind of concierge experience with my practice, and I'm managing their supplements. And every 30 days, I send them a new box, and I can change supplements in between, which I do very often. And then also, when they look at the package, they're like, "Oh, wow, this came from this brand, and this came from this brand, Designed for Health." And all these brands that Dr. Shah was talking to me about are in this box. So now I have the concierge experience, plus I have the brands that are trusted, all in one experience.
So tell me about the private labeling of the boxes, because basically it's a box that has a sleeve that can be customized. What does that look like for the practitioner? Is there a fee? Give me that breakdown.
What's great about this whole process is we make every single box one at a time. It takes us about 8 minutes to put together a box. And so there's no minimum order quantities. We print the sleeve that goes over the supplement box on a one-off basis, every single box. So literally, if you want to change your box color or logo, we can change it anytime for you. And we don't pre-print them. They're printed on demand. So it's a super seamless process. Like getting the box set up, we can easily do it for you. You can have more control. We have some practitioners that want to have their internal design team make the box, which is completely fine.
Yeah.
However, most people don't. We take care of it for them, and that's the whole process. And so, I think what's great about it is very flexible. You can change it anytime, and we don't lock you into any minimum orders.
So walk me through just a little bit before we move into this operations part of it. So just so everyone understands, when we'll talk about our relationship with GetHealthy, but right now this is a pill packing company that offers private label boxing with multi-brand catalog for your selection, and you can pack up your favorite brands in one pill pack. You can also set the assignment, right, of AM, PM dosing, or even somewhere in the middle. All of that is available, which I think is great. And it does increase compliancy. I gave a pill pack to John. I made a longevity pack.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And he said, I take my morning ones because I know I have to take an afternoon pack. So even without even thinking about it, he is now self-regulating to make sure he takes his morning peptide pack, which I did give him a brain peptide for the afternoon, which I regret now because now he's real sharp. He gets to all the meetings. He's like, all right, I have all these questions. And I'm like, oh, he took his peptides today, so it's
Yeah,
a
it's so
blessing and
funny.
a curse. But
Yes.
walk me through some of the operations. So you said you bought a machine. It's a pill packing machine. How does that look from when somebody orders a pill pack, right, to distribute or script to their clients and patients, to the accuracy of the pills, the dosage? What does that process look like?
Yeah. So these basically they're giant robots, and what they do is they get all of the supplements that you prescribe are put into giant containers inside of the robot. And the robot has about 800 different containers in it, and it'll individually pick each one and put it into the pill pack, seal it, and print the supplements on the pack itself, put it into a roll, and then we put that roll into a box. And the robot itself is extremely complex, but it is very accurate. These are made for the pharmaceutical industries. These are made for nursing care homes where people are taking multiple pharmaceuticals every single day. So they're super accurate. And what's also, I would say, the difficult part of this is actually creating all the software. So the software that takes an order and makes the robot do what it's supposed to do, and also print the box, et cetera. It took us a year to develop all of that platform. Yeah, and so it's pretty intense. There's a lot of different pieces involved. We have a huge facility in the Bay Area. We have multiple robots, and we have full-time staff also managing the robot, and then also software engineers to kind of put all these pieces in place.
Well, now I'll ask you all the practitioner questions. So, what's your turnaround time for fulfillment? Yeah. How long does it take to pack a box?
Yeah. It's it the turnaround time for fulfillment is exactly instant.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But when the order comes into our computer system, the machine automatically prints the box and the supplements automatically go in things. It's instant. And in 5 to 8 minutes, we can have the box printed. Now, it's on a monthly subscription basis. So what happens is you put in your order and we print out everything every 30 days. So every day it's printing it out. It's printing out orders that have been there for a while. But say, Tracy, you wanted a box to go out tomorrow to a VIP client that is leaving town, traveling internationally in 3 days. We could do that for you.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, that's
Mhm.
good. I mean, that's what people are looking for. They want to know, what is the process? I think everyone has the Amazon mindset of 2-day shipping. That's not always possible with some things, but it's good to know that the same day that you're receiving the order, you're processing the order. And not a lot of
Yep.
companies do that. I mean, we work with 350 brands and we try to secure product sourcing agreements that guarantee that when a product company receives an order from us that they fulfill it the same day, but we can't always control that. Once that leaves our system, they can fill that order whenever. But I know with your company, as soon as we send the order, you fulfill that, which is great. So just for the practitioners listening, this is such a great option. Private label, your own branding, multiple products in a very high compliant pack that's beautifully branded, that arrives at someone's house and can be put on subscription. So let's talk a little bit to finish up about your relationship with Get Healthy. How did you come to hear about Get Healthy or meet John? What was the relationship there?
You know, I heard about GetHealthy a long time ago, and it's something that we were looking at bringing into Next Health. And so when I saw John at a conference, I think it was Mindshare was a conference, and I said, "Oh, you're Get Healthy. We need to get you to do something with Next Health." And then I told him about Vitaboom, and he's like, "Wait, this might work really good with Get Healthy." And what I love about Get Healthy is that you have everything in one place, right? And so now that we've built this integration with you, you can either you can put everything you want for a patient together in one place. You could say, I want you to buy this red light therapy, and here's your supplement box in one place. So it was a really good kind of marriage of the service that we could provide with your guys' technology to keep everything kind of under one roof.
Well, I think by far this has been one of the best integrations that we've done. I think integrating with you and Avexia and the learning management system Thinkific, that trilogy
Mhm.
stack is amazing, but
Yeah,
yours has been the most widely adopted. And I
nice.
think it's just because people understand they don't want to carry a lot of inventory. Practitioners don't have the space. Sometimes they don't have the budget. A lot of people want the private label experience, but they don't want to shell out the cost of goods that's going to take to buy 144 bottles or 12 bottles, or even 48, plus the time it takes to create the label, get approval. I mean, Deb had my box back in 2 days. And I was like, oh,
Right.
and she's like, yeah, we're ready to go. Does it look good? I was like, yeah, this looks great. So I just point that out for practitioners that are looking for a way to retain their branding and really break into the market with that. I think it's important. It does help people from circumventing us and going to Amazon. And not that I don't love Amazon, I love Amazon, but I don't love when my clients shop on Amazon, then ask me how to take those products. I love when they shop on my store. And if I can help them save some money, and increase their health experience, I mean, that's absolutely what I want to do. So it's great technology. I just want to say thank you for being so innovative with your forethinking. And then, I
Thank
love
you.
that we are in synergy and working together. So anybody that has a Get Healthy store, this is available already in your clinical admin. You can start building pill packs today. If you would like that branded experience and you want to create your own pill pack, you can reach out to the Vitaboom team and I will make that email and form available in the show notes so that you can get your customized sleeve on your Vitaboom box. So, Dr. Shah, is there anything you want to leave us with as we close out this interview?
I'm just really appreciative of the partnership. I think, your technology is so well received with all the people I've referred to you guys as well. And I love what you did. You set up protocols, but then you can also set up individual prescriptions for individual patients as well. And you can also tie them together, protocol plus add this minus this. And so I think once a practitioner gets in there and sets up their protocols, they'll find it's actually a huge time saver as well in their
Yeah.
practice. So it's a win-win-win. That's what we want from everything, right?
Win, win, win. That's what I say. Always
Yes.
win. Well, thank you for your
Right.
time today. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Check out the show notes. Don't forget to share this podcast with somebody who can use this information. Make sure you schedule your demo and definitely check out Vitaboom. It's revolutionary to your practice. Thanks again, Dr. Shah. And we'll see you next time on the Holistic Business Podcast.